Hey, this is Brian Briscoe. I'm the director of the Tribe of Titans Multifamily Educational Group. You guys know me already. This is another multifamily brief episode for you guys today. And today I'm going to talk about rules of thumb. Been thinking a lot about underwriting and been talking with a lot of people about underwriting, reviewing a lot of people's underwritings. And something that is a common misconception is how to use rules of thumb. And one thing I want to say is if it's a rule of thumb that applies to the entire nation, or if it's the rule of thumb that's on the spreadsheet that you bought from, one of the people that sells apartment analyzers, then you've really got to look at that with a grain of salt and ask yourself, does it pertain to this particular area? There's a lot of expenses that are not uniform, first of all, across the nation, but they're also not uniform across asset classes or vintage, what year a property was built in. For example, looking at one spreadsheet that, I had sent to me, the rule of thumb on the spreadsheet was $500 per unit per year for repairs and maintenance. Now, I've had a bunch of C-class properties in the Carolinas and Georgia. Got another C-class property in Ohio. And I can tell you that for C-class properties, you are generally going to be spending a lot more than $500 per unit per year in repairs and maintenance for a C-class property. C-class properties are generally 30 to 50 years old. And so typically you're looking, 70s and 80s vintage for most of your C-class properties. And a property that's 30, 40, 50 years old is going to need a lot more repairs and maintenance than a property that was built last year. Okay, so when you look at the rules of thumb, you always have to ask yourself, do these apply? Another expense that can vary drastically between location, between asset class, is the insurance. There are some areas that are a little more natural disaster prone where insurance is going to be a lot higher than others. So if you're in a coastal area where you're subject to hurricanes, if you're in Tornado Alley, or if you're on a major fault line or close to a major fault line in an earthquake zone, or if you're close to, a body of water and you're in a flood zone, your insurance is going to be a lot higher than if you're not in one of those areas. If you're not in an area that's prone to flooding or hurricanes or tornadoes or earthquakes, I don't know where that place is, but if you happen to find a place that doesn't have any of that, your insurance costs are going to be a lot lower. And even between asset classes, the older the property, typically the higher the insurance is going to be. And that's just part of how the underwriters, look at things. So definitely when you're looking at those rule of thumbs, take them with a grain of salt and make sure you understand what the local dynamics are on a particular property, a particular asset class in a particular area. And that's going to really help you dial in your underwriting. So, I mean, it's a good place to start. And here's something that's going a little further. What I like to do when I underwrite is, I'm going to do my really, really quick walkthrough of the property first. And when I say walkthrough, I mean on paper, not the literal walkthrough, but on paper, I'm going to enter the T12 in. I'm going to put the information in, start building a pro forma, start looking to see what the returns are going to look like. And when I do that, I'm okay using rough numbers. And that's kind of where the rule of thumb goes to play. But what I'll also do is develop my own rules of thumb in a particular market. And this is where it is extremely beneficial to narrow your focus where you are looking at properties. If you're looking at a property today in Omaha and tomorrow in Tampa, and then the next day you're looking in Houston, you're not going to have that type of background and track record to be able to understand local dynamics, to be able to understand the different pricing on certain things in different areas. But if you are focusing on one area and you're underwriting C-class value add 70s vintage in a specific metro, now you're going to start seeing trends. Now you're going to start looking at T12s and you're going to understand, what the repairs and maintenance on these things are, what the contract services are going to be, and what other line items are going to look like on average. And if you start keeping track of these, you start building out your tracking spreadsheet. And I have a wonderful tracking spreadsheet, part of the Tribe of Titans. But if you start building out this tracking spreadsheet, it's something that can help you figure out, what your local rules of thumb are. And so when you first underwrite a property, you can look at your tracking sheet. You can see, okay, here are the comps that I've underwritten in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it's going to save you a lot of time. All right. And that's where you can actually rely on your rules of thumb, because they are localized and they are specific. They're not trying to paint a picture across the United States, across all asset classes, whether it was built last year or 120 years ago. End of the day, make your own rules of thumb based on where you're at and use those in your underwriting. And then at your second pass, you always want to be sharpening your pencil. All right. And what I mean by that, just like when you're drawing, you sharpen your pencil so you can make more fine, detailed, drawings or notes or whatever. And so as you progress through your underwriting and you're getting closer and closer to making an offer or closer and closer to a contract, your numbers are dialed in and you're using better and better projections each time. That's it for today. Thanks for paying attention. We have another episode coming out on Friday, another one of our Ask the Expert episodes. I think you're really going to enjoy that one. So hang in there and let's see you on Friday. Hey, if you like that episode, make sure to subscribe. But more importantly, if you haven't joined our multifamily educational community yet, which we call the Tribe of Titans, you are missing out. Get 30 days free by clicking the link in the description to this episode, or go to thetribeoftitans.info, and we'll see you there.